Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Mama Doc Baby Doc podcast. I'm so glad you've joined us today for another episode. I am Rachel, a pediatrician, and this is Renda, and she's an OBGYN and my mother.
Hi, everyone.
Mom, you have to tell everyone what happened with your beehive.
Oh my
I
goodness.
saw the video and
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I live on a flower farm in Alaska.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I
beautiful
know that
flowers.
sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. And flowers need bees, right? We need bees for pollinating our flowers. So um, for the last 2 years, I have tried to keep beehives. And this year I was fairly successful. So, first of all, I got this beautiful flow hive from a company in Australia, which is fantastic. And if you're interested in bees, you should look up flow hive because they're great.
It was
And I had it,
beautiful.
it was
It
beautiful.
was
So
so beautiful.
I had the art teacher at our local high school recommend an art student, and I hired this young high school student to paint my beehive. And she painted it with flowers. She put a pretty red roof on it. It was lovely. It was
It was
gorgeous.
so pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then we order the bees, right? And they come generally the end of April, beginning of May, and when you live in Alaska, we have to get our bees from the lower 48. So my bees actually came from California. So I
Mhm.
order them from this company, and a lot of people in Alaska that have bees do the same thing. And the bees all get put in a semi truck and shipped to Alaska all together, just one truck full of bees. So pray they don't get into an accident because it's one truck full of bees. And we are in Homer, Alaska. We're the end of the road. So we're the very last stop along the way. They deliver everywhere, and then we're last. And you go pick up your bees, and then you put them in your hive. So it's like this big to do. It's a big deal thing. And then you have to keep them alive because when they first arrive here in late April, early May, we don't have any flowers blooming here in Alaska, and it's pretty
Oh,
cold.
man.
So you have to feed them. So you give them sugar water and special sugar stuff to keep them alive until the flowers start blooming, which doesn't happen until late June or early July.
Oh
um,
my gosh.
yeah. Anyway, so then the bees pollinate your flowers and then they can start actually making honey, which is pretty fantastic. Well, we were about ready to start harvesting our honey because this happened like last week. We usually don't get honey till the very end of August or early September is when most people in Alaska will actually be able to harvest some honey. So this happened a few weeks ago, and we had not actually gotten our honey out of the hive yet because we've been traveling because I'm very bad about that. And I'm sitting at my dining room table. I can see my beehive from the dining room. It's sitting right off the dining room. We have a solarium and flowers growing in it, and the beehive's right in front of this big solarium. Anyway, um, I hear something, a loud noise. It's like a huff. And I look, and there's this nice, big, fat, fluffy black bear.
Nice.
Bear,
Nice
yeah,
bear.
nice fluffy black bear huffing around my beehive. And so, what do? I grab my phone and record. He knocked it over, got inside, and got the honeycomb and the honey, and
Mm.
ate my honey. uh,
And
and
ruined the
attacked my beehive.
beehive.
Well, we got the beehive salvaged. It's
Okay,
salvaged. But
good.
yeah, he knocked it over and ripped out all the frames and the honeycomb and the honey.
And all
So
the
once
bees are gone,
again,
right?
and all the bees are gone. Yeah. So once
Oh,
again, I have kept bees all year and gotten no honey.
no honey.
But the bear did. It was a nice meal for the bear before he goes into hibernation. So I'm pretty sure he's happy.
A real life Winnie the
Ah,
Pooh. The
a
hive
real
was
live
so
Winnie the Pooh.
pretty. The hive was so
Yeah.
pretty. When I went up for Emily's wedding just a few months ago, the bees were
Yeah.
just going around it,
Yeah.
and it was so pretty with all the flowers, so I'm so sad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's okay because we're in fall season here in Alaska now, so all the flowers have been cut back, so there was nothing for the bees to have anymore anyway. And it's really hard to keep bees alive over the winter in Alaska anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I could put up an electric fence around my beehive, which would not look very pretty because it's sitting right in the middle of my flower garden.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Oh, well.
I guess we'll
Good for
deal
the
with
bears.
bears. Yeah. So I'll put the video on our Facebook page so that
Yeah,
if
and you
you
can
all
watch
haven't already seen it, you can watch the video of the bear eating my honey. Ah,
it. Winnie the Pooh.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, today's episode, we're going to talk about diaper rashes.
Right.
And you know, a lot of babies get diaper rashes. Most babies do. The statistics actually show that 50%, but I bet it's even more than
I'll
that,
bet it's higher.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, most babies I know have had a few diaper rashes. It's actually one of the most common reasons that parents bring their babies to the doctor.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah, diaper rashes are more common in newborns and infants, but anyone who really wears a diaper for any reason can get one, no matter their age. So if you're postpartum and wearing a diaper, be careful. No. um, but they are most common, honestly, between the ages of 9 and 12 months of age.
Yeah, and I know diaper rashes can be really, really painful,
Mhm.
especially for babies. And you know what? Old women, postmenopausal women, often will
Oh,
get them too from wearing pads
yeah.
for incontinence. Yeah,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
know they're hard to heal sometimes. It's really hard to
Yeah.
get them to heal. Your baby brother had incredibly sensitive skin and always had some kind of rash going on.
Of
Yeah,
course he
really hard.
did.
Yeah.
He's just a baby.
He's so sensitive, such a
So
sensitive boy.
sensitive boy. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this. He'll be so
I
mad.
know. I doubt that he does. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, sometimes I honestly see a diaper rash and just thank God that we don't get them as adults, like, I don't get
Right,
one,
right.
because I'm a weenie as an adult, and I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't handle it as
Yeah.
well as a baby.
I know, exactly. I think we'd have to, like, stay in bed all day if I had a
Mhm.
rash like that. You couldn't move.
Couldn't
All
walk.
right. No. Okay,
Mm,
so let's start, Rachel, by, why don't you tell us about different types of diaper rashes? Because I know they're not all the same. They can be different
no.
types, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not. There's multiple reasons your child could have a diaper rash, multiple different types of diaper rashes, and most of which need to be treated in different ways. So let's
Right.
start
Mhm.
off with the first one. So the first one, and really the most common, is a diaper irritant dermatitis. And that's just really fancy words that say your butt is irritated because something is touching it. And most
Right.
of the time, this
Right.
is pee or poop, honestly.
Right.
Your poop is
Right.
touching your butt.
Yep. So,
Um,
yeah, I mean, yeah, because like, if you're wearing a diaper, urine and stool, it's gonna touch your bottom. It's inevitable.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
why do babies get it sometimes and then not at other times? Because there's pee and poop always or a diaper always touching their butt pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
usually we see diaper irritant dermatitis occurring when infants have diarrhea from a viral illness, or if they're teething, if they've just started solid foods, or if they're taking antibiotics. Usually there's a change in their poop that causes it to irritate the skin. Um, And, you know, during a viral illness and with the antibiotics, the poop moves through the digestive tract so fast. When it comes out, it has more of those digestive enzymes in there. And those enzymes are one thing that can irritate the skin.
Yeah.
During teething, the poop usually has more saliva in it. If you've ever had a teething baby, you know that they just drool 24/7.
They make
Um,
a lot of saliva. That's right. They make a
yeah.
ton of saliva. Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
has more saliva in there, and that can irritate the skin. And then when they're starting solid foods, their stools, their poops can change and be more watery or more acidic. They can also have more digestive enzymes in there, and all of these things can really irritate the skin in the diaper area.
Got it.
Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
anytime the skin in the diaper area is exposed to urine or stool, really the longer they're in contact with the urine and stool, the higher risk you have of getting that skin irritation. And then also, moisture in the diaper area can cause chafing or rubbing on the skin, and that can cause diaper irritant dermatitis.
Yeah, chafing can be really painful, right? Because, like, if
Yeah.
you've ever been a runner or exercise not that we would know anything about that, but yeah, like like, yeah, if you've been a runner, You can get chafing of the skin, and that can be really painful. Yeah.
Yeah, even people who aren't runners, if your legs rub together and you're, like, at Disney World, like, you're in
There you
trouble.
go. Yeah.
Um, but, there are a few things you can do. Of course, it helps to change the diaper frequently. The more you change the diaper, the less chance you have of that urine and stool irritating the skin, and the less moisture is able to build up that can lead to the chafing.
Right, and that's good, but, kids pee, like, all the time. Like, you
Yeah.
change the diaper and they're peeing again. I mean, at least it feels like that. So, I mean, how are parents really supposed to change the diapers that often? Because yeah, they
Yeah.
pee immediately. Yeah.
That's what I tell my patients. It's really impossible to change it immediately after they pee and poop every time. You're so right. It's not like parents don't have like a million other things that they need to be doing.
Right.
But a
Yeah.
good rule of thumb is it's a good idea to change your infant's diaper every 3 hours. So I like to time it when they're eating because most babies eat like every 3 hours. So if they have a bad rash, though, you might want to increase that to every 1.5 to 2 hours if possible. But honestly, just do your best is what I tell people. It's not always easy to do as it is to just for me to say it. um,
Yeah.
so we also recommend gentle cleaning during diaper changes. So try not to rub hard on their skin when trying to get them clean. I know poop can sometimes be sticky and stick to their
Right.
bottom pretty good,
Right.
unfortunately. And the harsh rubbing that you're using to get it off can cause friction that would also irritate their skin. Um, Another good piece of advice is to choose wipes that are fragrance and alcohol free if possible. You can even just clean them with a washcloth, warm water, gentle soap. You don't have to use a wipe if you don't want to. Or honestly, you can just use a spray or squirt bottle with water to rinse them off without actually
Ooh.
rubbing and
So
then
like a
pat dry.
baby bidet, like a baby bidet, right?
Yeah. A baby bidet, I love that.
All
Yeah,
right,
just do
so
a baby bidet.
yeah. So what else can you do? I mean, there has to be more than just changing their diapers every couple hours around the clock and being gentle. There has to be more than that, right?
Yeah, of course. And most parents know the best way to treat a diaper irritant dermatitis is to use a barrier paste or like a diaper cream. I
Yeah.
know most people have seen them. There's lots of brands. There's Desitin, Boudreaux's butt paste, Dr. Smith's. There's a million brands. The brand isn't really as important, honestly. I have some patients who swear by one or the other. My son's daycare teacher loves Desitin and says it works the best out of any of them. And then one of the other doctors I work with, she swears by Dr. Smith's and she says it's the only thing that works. But really, no matter what brand, you want to pick one with zinc oxide in it. And, you know, honestly, just petroleum jelly too, like Vaseline or Aquaphor, they work really well too.
Yeah.
The point of all of that is to slather like a thick coat of the cream or ointment all over their body. So that, or not body, sorry,
Not their body, they're just their butt.
all over their bottom, excuse me.
Yeah.
So the urine and stool don't like come into direct contact with the
Right.
skin. There's really no such thing as too much. Slather it on there good. Some people say like you're icing a cupcake if you like a lot of
Ooh.
frosting on your cupcake.
Yeah.
You want to do this every single time you change their diaper to protect their skin.
Yeah, and I have also heard people say also that when they're changing the diaper, not to scrub all the diaper paste off when they change
Mhm,
it, to get enough off to wipe the stool off, and you can just
mhm.
add more paste on top, right?
Exactly. If you have ever used that paste that's thick, it sticks really well to the skin. So if you're trying to get it all off, you're going to have to scrub really hard. And that friction can further irritate the skin down there. Um,
Yeah.
so you don't have to wipe it all off. Other things you can do are to choose a more absorbent diaper. There are not really any studies that show which brand is the best and the most absorbent. But if you've tried a few brands with your baby, you can kind of tell which ones are more absorbent than others, which ones last throughout the night, which ones don't. Um, Also, cloth diapers, they tend to be less absorbent. So, if you're using cloth diapers, then if they have a bad diaper rash, you might want to switch to a disposable diaper just while your child has the rash to help it heal. You also want to make sure the diaper isn't too tight. If you're noticing red marks on the skin, especially where the diaper is rubbing in their skin folds, then that might mean it's too tight.
Oh,
And this
yeah.
can increase the risk of chafing and give less breathing room for the skin, which will push the urine and stool kind of right up against the skin. And also, if your child has a bad rash, warm water soaks where you just let them sit in a bathtub of just
Yeah.
warm water, no soap, no bubbles, just warm water. That can really decrease inflammation and help the rash to heal. We usually recommend one warm water soak per day to help treat a diaper rash. So, talk to your doctor about this. Sometimes baths are not recommended as often if your child has eczema, or you
Right.
might have to do some specific things if your baby has eczema.
Right. Okay. So diaper irritant dermatitis is when the skin in the diaper area is irritated by urine, stool, or chafing.
Mhm.
And we can prevent that or treat it by keeping the diapers changed really frequently, by
Yep.
wiping very gently, gentle
Mhm.
wiping, by using more absorbent diapers, by
Yep.
doing the warm water soaks, maybe the
Mhm.
baby bidet,
Yeah.
and then also use a thick, thick barrier cream during every diaper change, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yay, I got it. Okay. So what is another type of diaper rash?
Another really common one, and one that I see a lot, is a yeast infection rash.
Yeah.
This is where the skin in the diaper area has an overgrowth of candida, which is a fungal infection, basically. Um, the diaper irritant dermatitis, what we just talked about, is usually red, irritated skin, usually in the area where the urine and stool come into contact with the bottom, like the genitals, the buttocks. A yeast infection rash can be in those areas, but it will also usually be in the skin folds and areas where the moisture likes to stay and hide. And it also is usually red, splotchy, multiple red spots in different areas. And sometimes you can even see it so bad that the skin breaks down with a yeast rash. The skin can peel and look like little sores, and it can even bleed,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah. The poor babies. Yeah.
I know.
And I
It's
know that and I know this is important to see your doctor for a rash like this because you usually need a prescription cream
Mhm.
to treat it, right?
Exactly, exactly. This is why if you aren't seeing the rash heal, any rash with, over the counter things that you're using, or if you see the skin breakdown and bleeding, it's really important to take your baby to the doctor to see if it's a yeast infection and might need a prescription cream to treat it. Usually we'll prescribe a cream or an ointment called nystatin. This is a fungal medication. A lot of parents freak out when I mention that it's a fungal infection, but Candida is really a naturally occurring fungus that grows normally in your digestive tract. And there are some things that can cause an overgrowth of this, like taking antibiotics. Um, that's just one example. And then, honestly, some people and some babies will just be more prone to getting them than other babies, and they'll just get them more
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah.
Make sure to wash your hands after you change your baby's diaper, especially if they're being treated for a yeast infection, to prevent your hands from like reaffecting the area.
Right. And, a lot of women have had
Mhm.
vaginal yeast infections,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
we know about yeast infections and how some people are just more prone to get them, unfortunately. And
Mhm.
you can also get vaginal yeast infections after taking antibiotics, right?
Yeah, exactly, and they're
Yeah.
painful. I unfortunately have had 1 or 2 after taking antibiotics, for a tooth infection, and geez, it's really bad. And I was so thankful when I went to the doctor and they prescribed me fluconazole to treat the yeast infection, and it got better because I was in some pain.
Right.
Before I had a yeast infection, I was like, "Man, people are just wimps thinking it's so bad." And then I
No,
had one
it
and
can
I
be
was like,
bad.
"Oh, man,
Mhm.
I don't like
Not
this."
very pleasant.
So now every time I
Yeah.
take antibiotics, I'm like, "Can I get some?" fluconazole with that, please. um, but babies, they can also get yeast overgrowth in their mouth too, actually.
Right.
And it's called thrush. It looks like a white plaque on their tongue, and it's treated with the same medication,
Right.
nystatin. It's
Right.
just a liquid that you put in their mouth.
Right. So, is there anything you recommend to your patient's parents when they're treating a yeast infection diaper rash? Right.
Yeah, I usually recommend similar things like what we talked about for diaper irritant dermatitis, like keeping the area clean and dry, using gentle wiping and absorbent diapers. I also talked to them about using a barrier cream along with the prescription cream because if you can imagine
Yeah.
having an open sore and then having urine or stool sitting up against it doesn't not sound like a good time.
Right.
um,
Right.
it can be painful, and lead to more irritation and inflammation in the area and then make it harder to heal. So we usually discuss using the nystatin, the prescription medication, 2 times a day in the morning and at night, and then applying a layer of the nystatin and then over top a thick layer of the barrier cream. And then every other time you change the diaper, using that thick layer of barrier cream.
Great. Okay. So, the second type of rash that we talked about that's common is the yeast infection rash.
Mhm.
And that can occur when a baby's on antibiotics, but some babies can get it just for no good reason at all. They might just be more
Yeah.
prone to it than others. And those babies can sometimes have recurring rashes, they keep coming
Mhm.
back. Yeast infection rashes are red with red spots. They can occur in the creases or the folds of the legs. And
Mhm.
we treat this kind of rash with a prescription medication, so you have to see your doctor if you
Mhm.
think they might have a yeast infection rash.
Exactly.
Got it.
Bingo. You got it.
Yay! Okay, so are there other types of rashes that can show up in the diaper area?
Yes, of course. Diaper irritant dermatitis and yeast infection rashes are the two most common types of diaper rashes.
Right.
Um, but you can rarely also you can get allergic dermatitis. Basically, that's a rash appearing due to an allergic reaction, and you can also have bacterial infections that
Yeah.
give diaper rashes. So allergic reactions occur in babies, honestly, with really sensitive skin. You might see a rash due to a reaction to specific ingredients in the wipes, in the diapers, and creams. The most common allergens are dyes or elastics in the diaper, or fragrances in the
Oh.
wipes or creams.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure this happened with JJ recently. I was trying to switch to a cheaper brand of diaper to save money because diapers are expensive.
Yeah.
And every time I used the cheaper diapers, he would get a really bad rash. It got so bad, the rash was like on his little penis. That might be too much
Aw.
information, but and every time I would wipe it, he would scream and cry. And I just felt
Aw.
horrible. Yeah, I felt so bad. I tried, switching back and forth between the cheaper diaper brand and the Huggies that I use now. And every time I went back to the cheaper one, he
Mhm.
would get a rash. So finally, I just donated the cheaper diapers and purchased Huggies. And he hasn't had
Yeah.
an issue since. So I really think it was due to the cheaper diapers.
Wow.
Um, yeah. If are worried about your baby having a rash due to an allergy, maybe try switching brands of diapers or wipes to one with like less dyes, less fragrances. I always recommend try to switch one thing at a time to narrow it down so you kind of know what is causing the problem. And also, it can be helpful to try one thing for a couple weeks at a time, like 1 or 2 weeks, to see if you can
Right.
get a feel for if something is really specific thing is causing it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Rachel, you also mentioned bacterial infections can cause
Mhm.
rashes, right? Talk a
Yes.
little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, bacterial infections, they can also cause diaper rashes. Both streptococcal, and staphylococcal, they're bacterial infections that can present in the diaper area. A staph or strep infection can look like bright red splotches with yellow drainage and crusting or pimples. This is called impetigo and really needs to be seen and treated by a doctor
Mm.
with a prescription medication. You can get impetigo in different areas. A lot of babies get it
Right.
around the mouth. Um,
Right.
Or if they have a mosquito bite and they're just scratching and itching it,
Aw.
you can get impetigo there, but you can also get it in the diaper area, and it does need a prescription medication. So if you're seeing like yellow drainage or yellow crusties and pimples down there, you should probably chat with your doctor. Um,
Okay.
Another bacterial infection is called perianal strep. And it's a diaper rash that looks like a bright red ring of skin around the child's anus. Basically, the little butthole has the red ring around it. And it's actually the same strep infection that causes your strep throat. And usually we see a
Mm.
lot of babies who have perianal strep around the same time of strep throat season. So,
Ah,
yeah, when it's going around, babies can get bad diaper rashes from it. So, if your baby has been exposed to strep and has a bad diaper rash, they really should be evaluated for perianal strep. This requires treatment with oral antibiotics. So, chat
okay.
with your doctor if you're concerned for this type of rash, because it's the really the only rash where we would give oral antibiotics usually for.
Got it. So, what advice do you have for parents to know when they should take their child to see their doctor for a diaper rash? I mean, because diaper rashes are so common,
Yeah.
when should they say, okay, this is when I need to take my baby to see a doctor for?
Yeah, you definitely want to take your kid to the doctor if you've tried all the steps that we talked about that you can do over the counter for 3 days and you still cannot get the rash to heal.
Okay.
Usually, diaper rashes just get worse and worse. So, if you're seeing it getting worse and it's been 3 days and you've tried everything, chat with your doctor. Your doctor can really look at the rash and let you know if there's something else you can try or if you might need a prescription for something. But also, if the rash has blisters or bumps filled with pus or open sores or bleeding, or
Mm,
really if your kid just seems like they're in a lot of pain from the rash, your doctor will want to see them at that point. And of course, if your child's having fevers, not eating well, losing weight, you definitely want to see them for
right.
that too.
Right. Right. Okay. So that was
Mhm.
really good information. I will need to use that. I don't think I'm going to need to use that information because I'm done having children, thank goodness. But I'm happy to share it with my patients who have little babies and
Yeah.
also other people I know who have little kids. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you can use it for your grandma duties.
Okay. Very true. So that's right. Yay. So I'll be really good at taking care of diaper rashes for all my grandkids.
Yeah,
Too
exactly.
too bad they don't live a little closer. You never know. Maybe
I
one of my
know.
Alaska kids will have babies soon. You never know. Could
Maybe,
happen.
you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So that I think is all that we have for this episode. I want
Mhm.
to say thanks to everybody for spending some time with us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to have a new episode out next week. So come back next week for another topic.
Yep.
Yay.
Yeah, and we really do appreciate you guys for listening so much. Tell your friends, tell your family to listen, and if you like our podcast, give us a review. That really helps other people find us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a topic you'd like to hear more about, reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram because we'd love
Yeah,
to hear what you want to hear about. Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
Bye. See
Bye.
you next
Bye,
time.
everyone.